This presentation describes what a thesis statement is, how thesis statements work in your writing, and how you can craft or refine one of your draft. Writing at university often takes the form of persuasion, convincing others that you have an interesting logical point of view on the subject you are studying. Persuasion is a skill you practice regularly in your daily life. You persuade your roommate to clean up, your parents to let you borrow the car, your friends to vote for your favorite candidate or policy. In college course assignment often ask you to make a persuasive case in writing. You're asked to convince your reader of your point of view. This form of persuasion, often called academic argument, follows a predictable pattern in writing. After a brief introduction of your topic, you state your point of view on the topic directly and often in one sentence. This sentence is the thesis statement, and it serves as a summary of the argument you will make in the rest of your paper. What is a thesis statement? A thesis statement tells the reader how you will interpret the significance of the subject matter under discussion. It is a roadmap for the paper. In other words, it tells the reader what to expect from the rest of the paper. It directly answers the question asked of you. A thesis is an interpretation of the question or subject, not the subject itself. The subject or topic of an essay might be World War II or Moby Dick. A thesis must be then often a way to understand the war or the novel. A thesis statement makes a claim that others might dispute. It is usually a single sentence near the beginning of your paper, most often at the end of the first paragraph, that presents your argument to the reader. The rest of the paper, the body of the essay, gathers and organizes evidence that will persuade the reader of the logic of your interpretation. If your assignment asks you to take a position or develop a claim about a subject, you may need to convey that position or claim in a thesis statement near the beginning of your draft. The assignment may not explicitly state that you need a thesis statement because your instructor may assume you will include one. When in doubt, ask your instructor if the assignment requires a thesis statement. When an assignment asks you to analyze, to interpret, to compare and contrast, to demonstrate cause and effect, or to take a stand or an issue, it's likely that you are being asked to develop a thesis and to support it persuasively. A thesis is the result of a lengthy thinking process. Formulating a thesis is not the first thing you do after reading an essay argument assignment. Before you develop an argument on any topic, you have to collect and organize evidence. Look for possible relationship between known facts, such as surprising contacts or similarities, and think about the significance of this relationship. Once you do this thinking, you will probably have a working thesis that presents a basic or main idea and an argument that you think you can support with evidence. Both the argument and your thesis are likely to need adjustment along the way. Writers use all kinds of techniques to stimulate their thinking and to help them clarify relationship or comprehend the broader significance of a topic and arrive at the thesis statement. If there is time, run it by your instructor to make an appointment at the writing center to get some feedback. Even if you don't have time to get advice elsewhere, you can do some thesis evaluation of your own. When reviewing your first draft and its working thesis, ask yourself the following. Do I answer the question? Rereading the question prompts after constructing a working thesis can help you fix an argument that misses the focus of the question. Have I taken a position that other might challenge or oppose? If your thesis simply states facts then no one would or even could disagree with, it's possible that you are simply proving a summary rather than making an argument. Is my thesis statement specific enough? Thesis statements that are too vague often don't have a strong argument. If your thesis contains words like good or successful, see if you could be more specific. Why is something good? What specifically makes something successful? Does my thesis pass the so what test? If a reader's first response is likely to be so what, then you need to clarify, to forge a relationship, or to connect to a larger issue. Does my essay support my thesis specifically and without wandering? If your thesis and the body of your essay don't seem to go together, one of them has to change. It's okay to change your working thesis to reflect things you have figured out in the course of writing a paper. Remember, always reassess and revise your writing as necessary. Does my thesis pass the how and why test? If a reader's first response is how or why, your thesis may be too open ended and lack guidance for the reader. See what you can add to give the reader a better take on your position right from the beginning. Suppose you are taking a course on 19th century America and the instructor hands out the following essay assignment. Compare and contrast the reasons why the North and South fought the Civil War. You turn on the computer and type out the following. The North and South fought the Civil War for many reasons, some of which were the same and some different. This weak thesis restates the question without proving any additional information. It does not tell the reader where you are heading. A reader of this weak thesis might think, what reasons? How are they the same? How are they different? Ask yourself these same questions and begin to compare Northern and Southern attitudes. Perhaps you first think the South believed slavery was right and the North thought slavery was wrong. Now push your comparison towards an interpretation. Why did one side think slavery was right and the other side think it was wrong? You could again at the evidence and you decide that you're going to argue that the North believed slavery was immortal, while the South believed it upheld the Southern way of life. You're right. While both sides thought the Civil War over the issue of slavery, the North fought for moral reasons, while the South fought to perceive its own institutions. Now you have a working thesis. Included in this working thesis is a reason for the war and some idea of how the two sides disagree over this reason. As you write the essay, you will probably begin to characterize these differences more precisely, and your working thesis may start to seem too vague. Maybe you decide that both sides thought for moral reasons and that they just focused on different moral issues. You end up revising the working thesis into a final thesis that really captures the argument in your paper. While both Northerners and Southerners believed they fought against tyranny and oppression, Northerners focused on the oppression of slaves, while Southerners defended their own right of self government. Compare this to the original weak thesis. This final thesis presents a way of interpreting evidence that illuminates the significance of the question. Keep in mind that this is one of many possible interpretations of the Civil War. It is not the one and only right answer to the question. There isn't one right answer. There are only strong and weak thesis statements and strong and weak uses of evidence.